competition crushing marketing tools, how to stay on top this year. Hello, everyone. My name is Tessa. I'm with the marketing team at IdeaPros. I almost messed up my own name, Fred. I can't believe that. And I am here with Fred Cary, who is the CEO of IdeaPros. And today we're talking about competition crushing marketing tools. So let us know that you're watching in the chat. We're here live with you to answer questions too. We'll be keeping an eye on the chat over there for any questions that you may have. But this one is actually a little bit of a redo because things have changed a lot since we last recorded this 4 years ago, Fred. So a lot of new things on the horizon. So I am going to kind of guide you through what I know we need to cover today, and then you can obviously take it from there.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I can't wait. I'm sitting in here in our media room, so I'm back a little further away, but this way I get to see everybody on the big, well, I get to see you on the big screen.
That works.
And yeah, isn't there any way on Facebook that you can see everybody?
I wish, I want to see all of our audience, but we can't see you, but you can let us know in the chat. So that way Fred can see you guys. So let us know you're here with us in the chat. That way he knows. But we have a lot to cover today because we are throwing in some new things, including a little bit of AI. So first, number one thing that we covered that we still want to cover is intelligence. So Fred, I know we talked about some major software that still is super relevant and has only gotten better with the new invention of AI. But do you want to go through kind of why intelligence is so important in this process? And then I'll talk about the software.
Yeah, again, this whole segment is going to be on the different tools you can have to really have a better chance of making it. And we've positioned that around marketing because marketing is really what drives your voice. And the first part of that, the intelligence part of it, is really the foundation for any organization. If you don't understand the game you're playing, the team you're playing against, what the rules are, and the objectives are, and how to win the fans up in the stadium. If you don't understand that in a sporting event, you're never going to win. If you don't understand that in business, the same rules apply. So there are a bunch of tools that right from the very beginning, you can figure out where you are, what that segment looks like, how quickly it's growing, what's its size, who are the competitors, what are their weak spots. We're going to talk about all those things individually as well, but really understand what it takes to win the game. And there are some tools that are really important in that regard. Tessa, I think you got one or two that you wanted to share on the intelligence gathering part of things.
I do. And I'm going to show you guys SEMrush. So this is just one really quick one to take a look at. Down the side, you can see traffic analysis, organic research, keywords, what people are searching for, competition. I can look up our competition and see what type of ads they're running, what keywords they're well known for. So I use this to track how our business is doing, but also to see trends and where we have areas of opportunity. So this one's one of my favorite from an SEO standpoint or search engine optimization standpoint. But I also do a lot of spying on the competition out there, because we can see all the ads from Facebook. It's all publicly available. It's called ad transparency. So they have to show us that information. So highly recommend using SEMrush or similar software, but this one can really give you a lot of information about how you're doing, the health of your business, and how your competitors are doing.
Yeah. Hey, and I want to say hi to Lorenzo. I think this is probably your first time here. Hopefully not your last. We try to give some valuable information every week and see what you think at the end.
Awesome. Well, and that's over on LinkedIn. Yeah, and he's over on LinkedIn, which we just started going live on. Finally, LinkedIn realized that we're putting out great content.
Awesome.
Great to have you here. So we do have, I know you talked about Statista in the past too. So that's another way for us to look at data. So how would you use that in a business?
Well, again, you really need to understand the fundamentals of what you're doing, and that's the thing that we probably do the worst of as entrepreneurs. We have a great idea and we want to take it to market. We know it's amazing. We don't think we have any competitors, and we're off to the races. But we don't know the rules of the race. We don't know the horse we're riding. We don't know the objective. We don't know how long the track is. And I keep making sporting analogies, but it's when you think of it in a sports environment, then you can realize how crazy it is that we don't do the same things in our business life. We need to collect all this type of data, all this information, and Statista can actually show you not only on a global basis, but on a more localized basis, if you need, what's going on in the world, what's going on in the sector that you want to be in, what are the projections for the future, so that when you go out and get investment dollars, not even just running your business, but when you go out and try to talk to other people about getting money to help grow your business, the more data you have, the more comfortable you are with what the future looks like, the better you're going to present yourself, the more likely you're going to be to walk home with a check.
Beautiful. So I'm just going to add that so you guys can see it. I'll put it in the chat as well momentarily here, but Statista.com, and you can search to find statistics, forecasts, and reports on here. And of course, there are paid versions, so you can do a little bit of searching without having an account with it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. Okay, so then the big one. All right. So I've had a lot of people tell me, hey, I'm using AI, and I found all my information on AI. I actually had the privilege of hanging out with my dad for the last little bit. And I think one thing that I have learned is that AI can be very unpredictable at times and can go a little bit rogue. And so I do think there's a huge opportunity for AI, and I'll let Fred share what he's ahead of the curve on all of this AI stuff too. But I think I want to tell people just to be cautious when you're doing all your research and looking at it yourself. So I'll let Fred take it from here.
Okay. So first of all, AI existed for a long time. It's generative AI
Yes,
that is the new one, right? Where you are um, leaps and bounds ahead of the way you were able to use it in the past. But if you think of AI as existed before as kind of a Model T Ford, and you think of the new AI as kind of a Ferrari Formula One car or Red Bull, since they seem to be winning everything, are you a driver that's prepared to be in there and use that car and win with that car? And that's the way you need to think of this. Even though AI is out there, it's going to spit back what you give it. If I happen to have a marketing agency and I want to go after a certain subset of clients in a certain sector, I can just type in there, hey, I'm a marketing agency specializing in sports teams, and I want to get a strategy on how I can go acquire new customers. You're going to get all sorts of data that's going to be pretty much useless. The way to use AI is the way to use any other tool by you being the intelligent part of the component in the beginning. And so whenever I use AI for anything, and we have several tools that we've built already that already incorporate what I'm about to say. But if you're going to go to ChatGPT, for example, and you ask that same question about having marketing agencies focused on the sporting industry, you're going to get random questions or answers. But if you tell AI, listen, I'm going to give you a series of prompts. I don't want you to answer any of them other than to acknowledge you understood it. And I'm going to tell you at the end when I want you to give me an answer. Then you can really get into it. I have a marketing agency and I want to specialize in the sports industry. My marketing agency is really small and I want to start in the Northwest only. I'd really like to focus only on tennis. And I only have a budget of $10,000 a month for advertising to reach out to these type of folks. In the very beginning, I only wanted to handle men's tennis, and then I want to go into women's tennis after that. And I'm really interested in only American tennis players. Now give me your answer. Now, the answer that AI is going to give you with those set of facts is going to be way different than the answer you would have gotten had you just asked the typical question that everybody has to go. Lorenzo has to leave. Come back next week. We keep these tapes, but so the
We
answer is
do.
going to be way different depending on your knowledge that you feed it, because you're training AI as you speak to it. It knows where to look, but it's going to look better if you really focus its attention in looking at the right space and looking for the right answers.
I love it. Well, and that's a little bit of the idea that you were asking it to verify why it came up with solutions too, right? As far as how to get the better replies in AI, you're asking for references. You want it to double check. You want it to give you back why it's coming to a conclusion, and that way you can see your, like you said, human intelligence, like the
Yeah,
common
and by
sense
the
a
way,
little bit.
right. And by the way, you can keep that session open. You know, if you get tired that night and you want to go to bed, you can just tell it, "Hey, I'm going to go to bed. I'll see you tomorrow." And it will tell you, "Have a great sleep. I'll be here waiting." And it continues to hold all that information. So when you go back to it, now you can pick up the conversation and say, "Hey, point three, you said that there's 47 players in the Northwest that are really pretty good. Can you rank the top 10 for me? And,
It's
and give me
amazing.
get me where I can reach them, right?" And then after you get that all, then you can say, "I'd like to put together an email. Can you give me a compelling email that I can write to them that won't be too businessy, but that really puts in some of their personal statistics so it shows that I know what they're all about and how their game is going. That way it'll be a more personal one-on-one experience and they'll realize it's only going to them." And AI will build all that stuff for you. But again, you have to have the human intelligence on the top of it, or none of the rest of it really matters.
And you also, I think this takes out, AI can take out some of the thinking, but not the critical decision making. Obviously, you still have to make up your mind on these, but you also have to take action. So having a team that can actually do these things, I think I have lots of people I've talked to recently. They're like, yes, I have this whole thing that AI spit out, but I still need to do this. I still need to
Yeah.
create the email sequence or get my list built. It tells you how, but you still have to take action and do these things within your business. So that is a huge, I would say, rely on AI to help you to brainstorm, but not to make that. You have to take action. You as a
You
human
know,
still have to take action.
you've just identified the hardest part of life. Um,
Right?
right. Over the holiday season, we were feeling generous, and I have video courses on purpose-driven entrepreneurship. They usually go for around $500. We made them available for free, no strings attached, no nothing. During the holiday season, all you got to do is download it, use this link, and it's free. Not that many people took up the offer, number one. And number two, several people that did, they're at 0%. Because you
They've
can
done
have,
nothing in it.
right, you can have everything handed to you. You can have things handed to you that you know you need, but you don't take action on those things. So all these tools are really, really wonderful, but they're only wonderful if you're willing to work your ass off. Because at the end of the day, AI or whatever's out there, none of them are really going to do the work for you. They're going to give you the solutions, but then you're the one that has to move forward and make it all happen.
Beautiful. Yes, absolutely. Well, that was actually number two of the things that we wanted to cover, which is determination. So I think you
Well,
summarized that up pretty well.
no, I don't think I have, because
Okay.
it's the determination to do it, to get started, to get moving. That's the first part of it. In fact, some people can argue that's the hard part, which in some senses it is, but it's even harder to keep going when your first few attempts fail. When you don't get to where you want to be, despite what AI tells you is going to happen, it doesn't predict the future, and things happen all the time that are not consistent with what you think is going to be going on. It happens to all of us, whether you're really experienced whether you're starting out in the beginning. There are macro things like the pandemic was horrible for us. We had, especially in our software development, we had 2 years worth of real hurricanes and turmoil coming at us that really delayed so many different things. You don't expect that stuff to happen, but when it does, you have to have the determination to keep going forward, even when you see that it isn't going the way I wanted it to go. I'm going to spend more time. I'm going to spend more money. I'm going to have more frustrations. I'm going to have partners or clients or friends or coworkers, whatever the case may be in your business, that are going to get frustrated and frazzled and kind of lose their determination. And those are the times when you need to double down even more. So that's a factor that doesn't go away. It's going to be there forever.
And also, we wanted to cover this one. Actually, we had a title last time of admiration, but this one was more specific to your competitors and really learning from your competitors and their negative reviews. And you also wanted to cover a little bit about the art of war. So I wanted to make sure we cover that and have time to do that today.
We either pretend we don't have competitors, or we kind of put them in their own little box on the side and we run our business myopically. You can learn so much from really following what your competitors are up to. What are they doing? What do they do well? What do they do poorly? How can you take advantage of the things they do poorly, which is the art of war part of it, which is avoid your enemy's strengths and exploit their weaknesses. How do you, as a little startup organization, compete against the big Goliaths of the world? And you do so by finding their weaknesses, and you don't find those weaknesses unless you really admire those companies and look at what they've done, look at the accomplishments they've made, and learn from them, and yet learn from their weaknesses as well, because their weaknesses is going to be your fertile playground where you're going to build your business. So really understanding everything about your competitors is critically important. Signing up for the newsletters under your private email account, going to open shows like this. If you're a competitor of mine and you want to come in and see what we're up to, you can come here and listen. And the intelligence gathering is something that needs to continue all the time, because they're competing for the very same customer that you want. And you need to learn how to compete better. You need to learn how to win. And winning starts with respecting your opponent.
Oh, I love that. And also, you said something that I have to bring attention to, and that's that you're going to continue doing this past just the initial research. A lot of people do initial competitive analysis, but then they don't keep their eye on the competition. Long-term, things change. The landscape changes. So your competitors might be changing. And if you're not on top of that, you're going to lose out too.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there are other, you had given an example of Quicken and how they pivoted and were looking at what their situation was. Can you just talk about that for a quick second?
Yeah. I'll talk about it. It's not really a competitive story, but it's a really good one. That listening to the voice of your customer. One of the problems with many of our startups, part of the delay in starting up is just the macro and micro things that happen when you're trying to start something from zero. But also part of it happens when you're building what you want to build, instead of building the critical foundational elements of what you understand the demand to be. And with and by the way, the CEO of LinkedIn, not Quicken, said that if you're not embarrassed by V1 of your product launch, then you're waiting too long. But in that same sense, this is a intelligence gathering opportunity, right? When you put out the core value proposition of what you want to have, and then listen to what your audience is telling you, that's when you're going to migrate into a really robust business. In the Quicken example, there was this real understanding that people wanted to be able to manage their finances better, and they needed to have tools to do so, because all this pen and paper was hard and clumsy. And if you could create the right tools, you'd have a much better experience as a consumer. And by the way, as an aside, Quicken couldn't get a penny from the venture capital community. Nobody thought anybody would use it. They didn't give him a red cent until he didn't need it anymore, and he told him to go pound sand. But in taking customer surveys and looking at the data points, they found out that 67% of their customers were using Quicken for the small business. And so they took that knowledge by always observing, having this determination to learn more, understanding the game that they're playing. They understood that they needed to develop what became QuickBooks. That was more business friendly, business oriented, could spit out a lot of reports that you're not going to get from consumer product. And so now QuickBooks is 95% share of their revenue. And it's something that wasn't created, it didn't come out the box, there wasn't anything that they were anticipating happening. But because you're listening, that's when you make the better decisions, and that's when you create the better products, and that's when you get the better results.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, I think we got through everything and we made it in time. So I'm going to take a couple seconds, unless you have a final thought before I chat with people.
Yeah, I think my final thought on this is that, back to the sports analogy, this is a game that never ends. It's a season that goes on forever. And it's something that you have to not do once, but do over and over and over again in order to stay ahead of the game. One of the things that I talk about is thinking of ways, like every week, think of ways to make yourself obsolete. And what do I mean by that? I mean, the better you get, the bigger you get, the more customers you get, somebody else, those competitors that you're admiring, are starting to watch you. And they're looking at what you're doing, and they're looking at your weak spots, and they're going to try to exploit your weak spots because they want all the customers you're getting. So you need to be thinking about that ahead of time. How do I make myself obsolete? What are my weak points? What do I not do well? And find ways to start reinventing yourself to make those weak spots stronger and stronger and stronger. Because if you don't do it, your competitors are going to do it, and they're going to eat your lunch.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm just going to make that a reel and keep replaying that. That was great. Thank you. Well, we had lots of great comments over in the chat too. I know Patrick and Try Grunt, and we have Levi actually says he tries to be here every Friday. So we know you're committed, Levi. We've even seen you at some of our Pitchcraft competitions. Speaking of, not a competition, it's a Pitchcraft event. We have one coming up next week. So it's on the 11th. If you haven't had a chance to get in for one yet, I will put the link in the chat. It's just fred.ideapros.com/pitchcraft. And do you want to just briefly talk about that one, because that's coming up?
Sure, I'll talk about that, and this year I'm committed to having many other workshops that go in depth on things. But Pitchcraft is really all about learning how to pitch to the right audience with the right message. The first thing that we want to do as entrepreneurs is talk about how wonderful our product is, and we're going to make billions of dollars, and how we're going to change the world. And if you're an investor listening to that message, that's a pretty scary message, because the first thing they want to know is how many times you've changed the world before. And the second thing they want to know is, why should I risk all my money on something so massive? So it's one of the fundamental things that we teach in Pitchcraft is understanding the mind of an investor and learning how to talk in a way that's going to make them comfortable. Learning how to use words like evolution instead of revolution. Learning how to embrace the competitors that are in that space already instead of pretending there aren't any. And learning how to praise those in front of the people you want money from, because that is going to give safety. I'll give you a quick example. If I say to you, hey, I'm going to go into space, there's really no competitors in the space. I'm the first one there. I believe it's a big, huge market, and I believe that there's a lot of customers waiting for it, and I need this money to make it happen. That's a story that has real doubt and real concern from the mind of an investor. But instead, if I have that same story and I say, look, I want to go into this sector, there are 3 major competitors already in this sector. All three of them became billion-dollar companies within 3 years. One took 4, but they all became billion-dollar companies. So there's a robust market. There's an audience there of hundreds of thousands of people that are using this solution. But the problem is they're all clamoring for something that none of these competitors give. And they're giving all these one-star reviews to all three of these competitors because they don't have this one thing. And my whole company is this one thing that everybody needs. So I have a proven market that these competitors have proven up. I have the analysis of the flaws in the marketplace because of the customers on this side that are complaining about not having this one thing. And so I created this one thing. And I know I could be a billion-dollar company too in 3 years because I'm giving this audience something that none of these other billion-dollar companies are giving. Now, if I'm an investor and I hear that, you've proven up the need, you've shown there's healthy competition, you've shown that it's a marketplace that's growing, you've shown that there's a disparity between the demand of what these customers want and the supply of what these other companies are not giving. And from an investor's standpoint, a robust market with a disparity between supply and demand is where I want to make my risky investments. And so by toning down your message, embracing the competition and evolving instead of revolution, then you're going to have a much better chance of gaining capital. So that's just one little piece of
I was
everything
going to
we
say,
talk about.
that's just a little piece. Fred talks about a lot more than that. So you definitely join us. There is no cost to join. It is a commitment. So we do ask that you hop on a call with us just so we can make sure you're willing to be there, because we're actually going into breakout rooms. So, and if for whatever reason we don't have an event coming up, that will take you to the next workshop, whatever we have going on. So it is only for a limited time on these. So don't wait, get in and sign up. So that is next week. The date does not show on that page for that exact reason that when you see this, it might be a couple weeks from now. So sign up and we'll get, you can book a time with us to find out the upcoming dates and get secured for that. So Fred, thank you so much for doing this show specifically on competition crushing marketing tools and a little bit of the AI insights that you've dove in so deeply on. So I appreciate you covering that today too. Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, and guys, yes, thank you. We're here every Friday at noon Pacific time. I know that you guys asked last week, I had no voice, so I appreciate you all. I saw that you guys were commenting about that. So thank you for being here with us. If you want to get reminders when we go live, just hit the bell or sign up to get reminders by email or text. And we'll see you all next week. Have a blessed week. Bye, everyone. Ciao.